Half Dane, half Welsh, Askeladd was, much like any other man, a slave. Revenge, money, another human, be it an object or an ideal. Everyone is slave to something, even to blood, essence of the bond with the homeland and with the mother. Ever since his earliest memories, covered in ash, pain and squalor were all Askeladd knew. But it was his mother's feverish prayers for the eventual coming of the legendary hero that allowed him to see an end to sickness and slavery. Only that Artorius never came, not once in 500 years of wait, not when his mother needed him. It took but an instant for Askeladd to realize that if the legend hadn't come then, he would never come. But someone, not a king, not a god, just someone had to. Despite his royal lineage, throughout his life Askeladd listened mostly to his Viking blood, killing, looting, and growing richer only in gold and silver, impoverishing his spirit while living in hatred, both for the companions he spent the majority of his time with and especially for himself. Askeladd is the real protagonist of Vinland Saga's prologue, usually portrayed with a mocking smile and a raised eyebrow, expressions of his slyness and eloquence, or the confidence in his skills as also favored by luck. Thorfinn, in fact, is so pathetic and miserable that his quest to avenge the father is only placed in the background of Askeladd's actions, which instead lead this story. The actions of a leader able of turning any event around him to his advantage, only losing composure when whales and slavery end up being put in the same sentence together. Askeladd's beauty lies in his character aging and getting livelier, paradoxically, the closer he got to his death, all being the result of having lost patience for Artorius, of hearing Ragnarok's footsteps draw near and shaking him, making him visibly worried for Thorkel chasing after him, angry at King Sweyn, sad for Bjorn's death, his only friend, and then infuriated at Thorfinn on the same day because of his childish impossibility of living on the battlefield what should stay on a battlefield. In a world where all grace and beauty seemed lost, buried deep down the snow, Askeladd was struck by the encounter with Thors, a man less than a sword away from being a true warrior. Askeladd would have followed such a fascinating man, someone possessing a virtue nobody in that crumbling world had, as demonstrated by his words and actions, the eyes, his hand, those of a man, of a true warrior, not a god, not a king, just someone. Thors was a crucial chapter in waking Askeladd from his Danish slumber, in reminding him of Artorius, in rekindling the sentiment for a change in the world, and in the next years, Canute would be the opportunity he'd been looking for. Older, short on time, mortal. It was in some ancient Roman ruins that, with the sun ironically rising on the twilight of man, Askeladd told Thorfinn that everything and everybody has their time limited. Even the strongest eventually dies. No matter how many people had alternated themselves in conquering lands and seas, Askeladd felt the age of man ending, and certainly he did not want to simply fade into the sunset. It didn't matter if it would be Ragnarok or the Judgment, as long as it came soon, and Askeladd was tired of warriors squeezing the life out of the world for their profane and ephemeral, egoistic desires. And most of all, he was tired of Norsemen. That he was also part of. His mercilessness may be explained thanks to this fact. to his blood, as no sacrifice was ever too much for him in order to reach his goals, especially for the restoration of Britannia. But on the other hand, the second half of his blood, the Welsh one, was what gave strength to his ideal of a free land. Britannia was to Askeladd something that went beyond a simple objective of territorial integrity. Britannia was an ideal, the one of an advanced people with their technology and culture, like the Romans, and Askeladd loved his homeland. It was where he'd brought his mother to die. He loved the country because she loved it, despite being a hostile and poor environment to man. Even if the word does not make its appearance once in the course of the first 54 chapters, what Askeladd had and fulfilled was a dream. Possibly a too poetic concept for the pragmatic world of man, but in substance, the dream of Britannia was what he was slave to the long-lost ideals of beauty and grace, those of ages past, which he saw in Thors as a personification of a Greek-Roman ideal of perfection, which inspired him to finally declare the name given to him by his mother in front of King Sweyn, Lucius Sartorius Castus, to concretize his dream at the welcome cost of his own life. Askeladd was not suited to be king of Britannia. His blood contaminated. He was a daring man. Even when forsaken by luck, he always turned the odds around with his intellect by outwitting his adversaries, constantly trying to be a step ahead, strategy after strategy, with both words and actions. Manipulative, mysterious, successful and charismatic, Askeladd was a true leader, only that he still needed a sword to deal with his battles, like Thors, who'd even called himself imperfect. Thors was an example Askeladd could have never replicated, but one that inspired him, that he treasured in his mind for the longest time. He could have easily told Thorfinn about Floki, the man truly responsible for his father's death, in the same room as them during his last moments. But he decided not to, because with time, Askeladd had become an elementary father figure to Thorfinn, however twisted, his reason to live, and, at the very end, fallen not in a duel with him. Askeladd shared an advice: to move on. After all, wasn't Thorfinn the son of Thors? So he should venture beyond the world his father saw. That would be his real battle, to be a true warrior. The hero had finally returned.